Yeah, I keep it short and brief this year. So again, I want to thank everyone for coming. I would also like to start off by thanking TBT for choosing Lexington as a regional site for the second year in a row for the TBT tournament. Secondly, I would like to thank our support team, the University of Kentucky, the men's basketball program, their support staff, the players, and our sponsors for allowing us to represent them in a great fashion. We are looking forward to getting the guys here and making another great run at the title. I'm very grateful that another Kentucky legend is going to be leading our group this year as the head coach. Coach Sean Woods was awesome with the guys last year, and I'm excited to see where he takes us this year. As of today, our roster is Willie Cauley-Stein, Deron Lamb, DeAndre Liggins, Archie Gilbin, Ansi Amanor, Aaron Harrison, Andrew Harrison, and Khalil Whitney. We have one more player committed who is not a UK player, but he has ties to Coach Sean Woods, and he will begin to announce soon. We are looking forward to adding 1 or 2 more players, just waiting on a few guys in their schedules. We had a player decommit this year because of contract obligations that he had to go to his team early this year. And at this moment, I would like to open it up for questions for me and Coach Sean Woods.
Sean, you obviously played an integral role on the coaching staff last season. Just what did you take away from that experience, and especially that made you want to come back for another run this summer?
First of all, this is one of the most modest men that I know. Okay, we've grown, and I've grown to appreciate and respect and fall in love with this guy. This guy here, I think a lot of, and what he's done and putting his time and effort into this TBT situation, La Familia, is unparalleled to anything. I mean, I think he's missing his calling. I think he needs to be in the NBA and be a general manager, because he's handling pros right now, and everything last year went smooth when you didn't think it was going. I mean, when you thought it was going smooth, it wasn't, but it was on the surface. He's the best. And what brought me back was him, the way he does things. And another thing is, because of things are different now from different era, what I got out of it was I wanted to make sure that the former players that were playing in this, no matter when you put that big blue on, there's a pride situation and an appreciation. And I wanted to make sure that those players knew how relevant they were in the state of Kentucky and being a former Kentucky basketball player. And it was surprising that they didn't understand, but by the time they left, they did. And that's what I got out of it most of all. And also just being able to coach them and get to know them, because they were a lot younger than me. I didn't know these guys. And I had a great time just interacting, telling stories, my stories, listening to their stories. I told Patino's stories, they told Cal's stories. We compared notes and things like that. But this bond and this fraternity is second to none. And that's what was so refreshing to me. And then seeing and letting them see how relevant and how appreciated they are, because once those guys left, they were only here 8 months for the most part. Willie played more years here than any of him and the Twins. But the other guys, they were here 8 months and they went on with their lives in the NBA, so they really didn't get the chance to appreciate what this is all about. And after it was all over, when we went to Philadelphia, they really understood what Kentucky basketball is all about and what they have been a part of and who they really are. And Twany, I tell you, we had to come to Jesus meeting one night, and I told them very bluntly that I don't care where they played it in the NBA, they would never be more relevant than where they are here, and to appreciate it And after it was all said and done, they kind of understood a little bit. And as you can see, if they didn't have contractual situations, the twins are back. Willie Cauley-Stein's back. You know, the other guys want to come back. They just had different obligations. And now we got some new guys that's in the same situation, but they saw how much fun we were having from afar, and now they wanted to be a part of it. There's some guys that still want to be a part of it, but Twany just can't get them because of contractual situation, because these guys still make their living playing professional basketball. But it's fun. I didn't think, reason why I didn't want to be the head coach last year is because I didn't know if I could coach pros, you know, from an attitude standpoint. And my mind, you know, coming off being a coach was so brittle that I didn't want to go into a confrontational situation dealing with older guys. And it was so different from what I thought that I had more fun than I thought I would. And I was just looking so forward to it this year. And when Twany called me back, you know, there was no way I can tell him no.
And before the next question get asked, Coach, I just would like to say thank you. I'm a person that appreciates everything, and I don't take anything for granted. And when you were just saying those comments about me, you know, I just, in my head, was just looking back at a little boy that grew up in Louisville, that was always a Kentucky fan, that had a dream to play here. And I watched, you know, Derek Anderson and Rajon Rondo put that jersey on, and I always dreamed of being in that position. And when I got the opportunity, you know, I made the most of it, but I never imagined sitting here one day in a room full of people watching us and having a UK legend say that about me, man. So I want to say thank you, and I appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
You deserve it, buddy. You deserve it.
For either of you, knowing how close the team was last year to winning it all, and they probably might have won it all if it wasn't for a scheduling conflict that happened in the semifinals, how much more emphasis is there with the guys making sure that they go one step further this time around?
So, of course, you know, last year, man, we had a tough ending to our run in TBT. Of course, like you just mentioned, we had a guy that couldn't make it due to some stuff he had going on in his personal life. And I think it was a huge letdown to the guys. I mean, but we still went out there and we fought. You know, he was the guy that, you know, that couldn't make it to Philadelphia last year, was like our glue guy. He was our engine. He was our light. He was our spirit. He was our energy. I mean, he was everything to our team. So it was a huge letdown for us. But you know, when me and Coach Woods just talked about the roster construction this year, we wanted to make sure that we put together 9 to 10 guys that all had that spirit. That so if something was to happen this year, which we don't foresee or plan on, because we let that be known early, that you cannot, for whatever reason, if you commit to us, you cannot back out. And we put that in our contracts with the guys as well. So we're not looking forward to something like that happening again. And I think this team and the energy around this team is going to be awesome. And I can't wait for the guys to get here.
Sean, you and I were talking at the table and talking about the differences in this year's team compared to last year, and maybe some stylistic changes that will be a little bit more prevalent this season. What do you think?
Well, the different style, different personnel, different style of player, will be playing more faster. You know, last year we played kind of not a methodical, but we didn't have guards that really liked to push it. We had guys that were half-court guys that were really, really good and effective. But our defense was really, really good. I mean, we were holding teams that was, you know, the average score in TBT games was 90s, 100s, and we were holding teams to 70s. But, you know, we would never get fast break opportunities. Now, with the personnel that Twany's put together, you know, with the Archie Goodwins and the Deron Lambs and things like that, we'll be able to play faster than we did last year, and will be more fun to watch. That's for sure. But man, this guy just never ceases to amaze me with the personnel that he puts together. And now he's learned, and we all learn, you know, as you go, what we need to tell the guys to be expected. And he's got it now, and he's put a personnel roster together that suits who we are and what we're trying to do. And like you said before, you know, that one guy hurt. You know, I thought we had a great chance with my sweetheart over here, boy. She come in that locker room. We were playing bad at halftime. She come and said, "There's money on the ground." But I think the personnel that we have now, their style of playing, the way they want to play, will be more up-tempo than it was last year.
this is for either of you guys. Whenever you're putting a team together, or when you're coaching a team, you gotta have that alpha, that dog. Have you figured out who that is yet?
Yeah, that was one thing that when we lost, last year, I feel like Ohio State team kind of, I'm not gonna say they punked us because our guys played extremely hard.
They were more physical.
They were more physical. And when I sat down, after the season was over last year, I said to myself, I want 9 to 10 dogs. And I think we did that with this roster. And I think the guy that's, of course, you all are very familiar with him, and the role that I think he's going to play for us is DeAndre Liggins. He's going to back down from nobody. And also Archie Goodman. I just can't wait for those. And Deron Lamb. I mean, if you all remember, Deron Lamb led us in scoring in the national championship game, and he's from New York. He just got a killer personality, killer mentality. So those are 3 guys that stand out to me right away.
Really put together a very super competitive roster that now this is the second year, and these guys knew what happened last year. They want to come in and make sure that doesn't happen again. And Twany kind of put it out there that, hey, if you're going to commit, because it's bigger than money. This was the pride of Kentucky got involved. And that Louisville situation, I'm telling you right now, I hadn't played a college basketball game since 1992. And I've been a coach in college for 25 years. Besides winning a conference championship, getting an opportunity to go to the NCAA tournament, there was no rush that I have had since I've been a UK player than that UK U of L TBT game at Freedom Hall. I mean, it was unlike anything that I've gone through, and I think that's when it clicked that we had something from a pride standpoint, because it was nothing but pride from them and us. And as you see how it ended, very, very chippy, but that was just a competitive U of L UK situation, and it was nothing like it in all my years, in 25, 30 years since I've been gone. But this is fun. And this guy here is the ultimate professional. And when you look at something like this, most of these people, it's just a fly-by-night deal. Let's try to go get, put some guys together. They'll meet up for a weekend and let's do this for, see if we can, win $1 million. No, he made it professional. He made a camp. We got a camp. How many guys can go and practice with their college team that they're representing, like we're going against, and get to practice with Mark Pope and the Cats, every single day. So this has been an A1 organization, an A1 situation, and looking forward to it again.
Can you talk about the team chemistry?
That was something that we, going in, didn't know what it would be like. But after we had that come to Jesus meeting, it wasn't about me, it was about we. Yeah. And that's the reason why we had such a good time last year, is because we didn't have any selfish things going on. And that's very, very rare when you got guys coming from overseas and they're just thinking that, hey, I'm just gonna go over here and get mine. And that wasn't the case. And the guy that left us, he had just signed a multi-year contract, $1 million contract overseas. But little did he knew, after he made a decision to leave us, there were NBA scouts calling me and calling Twany saying, is this guy gonna play, because we wanted to see him. Yeah. So this is a situation where basketball is so universal and everybody's watching. There were NBA scouts watching us. And we had a couple guys that was kind of striking some interest a little bit. And one of them was one of the guys that left us. And but that's where it became. And I think once you put on that jersey, it's about us. Everybody that put on that jersey that we're bringing in has success here. You don't come to the University of Kentucky and play basketball unless you're somebody. And every time we put something together like this, we're bringing in somebody. But in order for us to be successful as a team, we all have to go back to how it was when we played here and play for one another. And that's what we've done, and that's the kind of atmosphere and culture that we've created in just a short amount of time.
Sean, you brought this up a little bit, but obviously last year we saw the TBT guys getting to practice and spend some time with the current Cats. Is that in the plans again this year?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we could, publicly make any statements about it, but we're just trying to work through that behind the scenes.
Last year there was a home court advantage at Rupp Arena. When you see what you could do there, what you're going to do at Memorial, compare that to other teams and their home court advantage if they have one. How much greater was it in Lexington compared to, you know, Richards Elite, whoever they are?
I mean, it was huge. I mean, as you see, like, you know, when we wasn't playing, you know, that gym was kind of empty. And then when we ran out, man, it was just crazy. I mean, the first experience that I had watching, you know, the guys run out, I think our first game, and it was amazing just to see, you know, as we standing in the tunnel, and you see the fans starting to stand up because they were expecting us to run out, and the guys started to get jitterbugs again. It was like, man, it was an incredible feeling. So I know we're playing the game this year in Memorial Coliseum. I'm excited. I know there's, you know, been a ton of new energy around that place, and just to have the fans be on top of you this year, I think it's going to be an exciting moment for us.
Sean, congratulations on getting your voice back, number one.
It's coming.
You said coach college kids for a long time. Now you're working with the high school kids by day. What kind of adjustments do you have to make as a coach, coaching these professionals?
Well, it's easier, you know what I mean? Because all you have to do is tell them what you're trying to do, and they pick it up easy. They know, they're pros. So instead of having to go over things 100 times when you're dealing with kids, these guys, you just tell them what to do and how you want to do it, and they pick it up, you know, much easier. And so it's less teaching and more direction from as far as what your philosophy is trying to be, more so than teaching every little thing with high school, and then also teaching everything more in college. So when you're dealing with pros, you're just dealing with schemes and looking at mismatches, and defensively you tell them exactly what you want them to do. And it's not that much, you know, teaching involved, because these guys have seen everything. You know, they play for millions of coaches by now. So every coach that they play for has different philosophies, different schemes. So that's something that they're used to.
You were really active in the huddles last year with Tyler. Is that situation, I don't know if the word's easier, but you can give them more info in a short amount of time and they can absorb it?
Well, with me and Tyler, we were great together, because I gave him and John Hood, I didn't give them, and this is how it worked. They handled pretty much the offense, you know, and with me, I was just trying to keep guys motivated from a defensive standpoint, because that's how we were winning. You know, offensively, you may run a good play, but the ball has to go in. And sometimes it may go in, sometimes it won't. But from a defensive standpoint, I was just making sure it was consistent, that we posed our will on the other team, that we were for real about winning, more so than just thinking about offense, so on and so forth. So that was my role last year, and it's going to be the same this year. But I will be more, because I'm the head coach, more on the offensive end, but I'll have still a couple more guys, because as a coach, you want other guys to help and have input. You know, they're giving their time and effort, so they want to show what they can do and what things that they know. So, you know, being a head coach, I understand that, and you want to give your assistants an opportunity to have their platform, and so it'll be the same thing, except for I'll just be the head coach.
How important was it to have returning players such as Willie and the Harrisons come back this year?
Oh, it was huge. It was huge for us. I mean, Willie was kind of our staple. You know, when we looked at this roster, we said, you know, we want to start with Willie. So Willie was the first call that I made. You know, Willie was an incredible player for us last year. I think Willie got a huge contract after playing for TBT, after playing for us last year. So he was the staple of our team, and I wanted to build everything around Willie, because Willie, this whole thing changed his life outside of playing basketball. I mean, he's come back. I think he's living here now.
He's falling in love with Lexington.
Yeah,
you know,
back in school. So to have Willie be able to tell these guys, and he's helped us also with recruiting. You know, we put Willie on the phone with certain guys, and he's explained what this feeling and what this situation was about, how serious we take it. So I think it's going to be huge to have somebody like Willie in the Harrison Twins coming back, because now they got that experience. The guys got that feel of what it means to come back and put that jersey on again. It's not the Kentucky across the chest, but, you know, it is the Kentucky across the chest. And having those guys come back and be a leader for these guys was huge for us.
You were talking about the returners, but can you give us a little bit of a breakdown on some of the new guys, kind of their game and what we can expect?
Somebody that I'm real high on coming back is Khalil Whitney. And I think some of y'all saw what he put on social media a couple weeks ago, and it went viral. I was A huge fan of his when he came in Kentucky his freshman season. He was top 10 in the country, had a lot of potential, 6'7", long dog from Chicago. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out for him here. Then he decided to leave midway through the season. He and I stayed in communication. He's played in the G League. He's kind of traveled and trying to find his way. And he's excited to come back. He's a dog. He's another one of those guys that when Coach Woods, implements him into what we're doing defensively, he's another guy that can switch. He's long, he's rangy. So he's another one I'm looking forward to being around. And then Deron Lamb, he was my teammate when I played here. He was, of course, led us in scoring in the national championship game, but he's a marksman. He's a three-point shooter. He's a scorer. You put Deron in any system, he's going to be able to go get his. And then, of course, we're going to be tall, we're going to be long. We go 6'4", 6'5" with the twins. Deron 6'4", 6'5". DeAndre 6'4", 6'5". You got Khalil 6'7". And then also, too, Anthony Amador. He's a guy that we've been at it for a couple weeks now before he committed. Took him to breakfast, and he looked at me and he said, "Man, I saw how big this was last year. Us being able to scrimmage against you guys and us coming to the game, and I saw how big the Louisville game was. I want to do this." So I was very thankful that he's decided to be the first Coach Pope player to kind of join the La Familia thing of what we have going on. So I'm excited about this roster.
You guys talked about running up and down the court. With Ansley being so young, you guys expect him to run him in those tires?
Yeah. I think he shot with upper high 40s from three this past season. So we're going to need his shooting. And also, too, man, Archie Goodwin was arguably the second. We had Karen Cantor last year, was the MVP of TBT, and Archie was arguably the second or third best player in TBT. So, and he's 6'5", 6'6", long, rangy. So, how Coach Sean Woods likes to play defense, switch on the perimeter, have guys that are long, play the gaps, get it off the glass, get out and run. I think we're going to be a lot of fun to watch this year.
Sean, we're all smiles right now, but we're going to hold you accountable.
No, you don't. Don't do that. Don't you do that.
How much scouting of these teams have you done up here? Do you know anything about your
I
opponents?
tell you what we did last year, and we don't want to give everything away, but we treated every game serious. Like, we broke down film. We had film session. We had scouting report sessions. So we did it all. We did it just like we didn't just come in here and just play and roll the balls out. We treated this just like a normal situation. So it'll be the same as far as preparing for every team once we get started. So yeah, it's a lot of things go into this from a preparation standpoint, and that's a lot of reasons why we were so successful from a defensive and offensive standpoint, because we scouted these teams just like we do if we were coaching at Kentucky in the SEC or college or whatever. So we really look at this as a serious situation, and that was another thing that was big for those guys. They were so attentive. Scouting reports was very, very important to those guys, because nobody wants to go out there and look bad. And those guys wanted to be prepared. So we wanted to make sure that they were prepared to be successful. And if they were successful individually, then as you saw, we became successful collectively.
And you are in it to win it, right?
Absolutely.
We're not doing all this right here if we ain't in it to win it.
Yeah, and I also want to share, so we lost, the race, the first to 4,000 tickets for home court advantage to the team up the street. But we're still also in the running, just in case Louisville loses. We continue to win. It's the second closest to 4,000. The first to 4,000 gets the home court throughout the entirety of the tournament. So if Louisville loses, or we have to go on the road and beat Louisville, or whoever that team is in that region, then we could potentially come back home for the Final Four and play the Memorial Coliseum. So we want to get it out there to our community, our supporters, and our fans to go get them tickets.
Speaking of fans, what can you say about the fan engagement from last year, and what you're expecting for this season?
Man, it was awesome. After every game, guys hung around after the game and took pictures, stayed out there, a little longer, signed autographs. Once we got back and, guys got changed and showered out, we came back onto the floor, and some of the fans that were still around, they got to interact with them. We set up an autograph session. We haven't got the day yet, so we allow these guys to, get that fan interaction again and sign autographs and kiss babies and do all that they used to doing while they were playing. But it's awesome. I mean, these guys that we have several events, and I also want to thank somebody that's not on camera right now, Brittany. She's amazing with the guys from a marketing perspective. You know, I badger the guys a lot with doing some things that I wanted to do, but she's also, you know, somebody that's behind me, that's also following up and making sure these guys do the things that they have to do to market it, you know, to get their name out there, to help with this ticket stuff. So I'm excited about, you know, all the stuff we have planned for the fans.
Twany, in addition to all these games, I know you all are also excited about this Champions Week. From a just service perspective and a community perspective, what are you most looking forward to with some of those events?
Yeah, so Champions Weekend, last year was our first year doing it. And so when I looked at this whole thing, I said, okay, these guys are going to come back to Lexington and play basketball. But I wanted it to be bigger than just playing basketball. You know, and one thing we learned from Coach Cal when I was here was service and serving others. So I looked at this thing and I said, you know, how can I, you know, provide impact to our community, but also to get these guys and local business people all in one room, and how can we support the kids and the children. So I put together a weekend called Champions Weekend, where we have several events throughout the weekend where guys are in the community, they're giving back. And some of the events we have lined up is we have a service project where we last year we gave out 750 backpacks. Myers was one of our partners, and they donate the food. So these kids are getting backpacks right before school started, and they're loaded with food and different things. And we have a networking event Friday night. It's going to be at the Elwood Hotel. And for me, I thought, man, what an opportunity to have these guys back. A lot of these guys now are starting to think about what they're going to do after they're done playing. So I thought it would be awesome to get these guys around some business people and start, you know, making those connections and networking. And then Saturday morning, which is the 12th, we have a free basketball camp. Last year we had over 200 kids, and then, you know, everybody that was a part of the TBT team got to come and be camp counselors, and the camp was free, and it was awesome. And then Saturday night, you know, we have a charity game, and some of the guys that aren't a part of TBT, that are UK players, are going to be playing. Like this year, we have Marcus Teague, somebody who was, you know, started for us in the national championship game, coming back. Dominique Hawkins, Julius Mays, Darius Miller's playing. And that's going to be at Takes Creek on the 12th at 6 p.m. And then Sunday morning we have a golf scramble. So I'm looking forward to all the events, and the guys that, of course, when I'm recruiting them, I start with that. You know, I want you to come back to Lexington, and not only just for the basketball reason, but I want you to come back and serve and give back. And the guys go, oh yeah, let's do it. They'd be excited about it.
Twany, doing all that stuff off the court. We were just talking with Coach Pope and some of the new players about how bonding off the court will help you on the court. How much of a difference do you think doing this community work, scrimmaging, hanging out off the court will help you guys during the summer?
Yeah, every team needs time away from the court to build chemistry. You know, that was very huge when I played here with the guys, and we did a lot of stuff off the court. And so I kind of wanted to keep that same process with the guys that I'm building this thing with now. You know, we had dinners last year. You know, we were hung out a lot in the hotel. You know, we did different things, and I think the community work is only going to bring the guys together. You know, they hear a week before we play, so they get to get you know, used to each other, to being around each other, and so I think it's only going to be a huge boost to the chemistry within our team.
For both, they're either Sean, you mentioned the Come to Jesus talk last year to make sure they knew it wasn't just about money, it's about competing. Because there's so much carryover in the personnel, do you anticipate that won't be as much of an issue this time? That they know going in, you can pick up where you left off last year?
Well, now, the beauty of any team is bringing guys back.
Right.
And because we do have Willie, who has such a strong personality, and then we had the Harrison twins, who has such a strong personality. Once they bought in, everybody else bought in, and the beauty of it is they're back. And now, what other players that are going to be playing this year that didn't play with us last year, they saw what this was, and they wanted to be a part of it. And they also talked. So it was kind of easier. Twany just, I think, had to navigate through their schedules. You know, a lot of these guys are still playing right now. So that's the biggest competition he has, because it would probably be easier bringing more guys back. But that's the hardest part. But the guys that we got are so looking forward to it, because they saw it last year, but not only that, man, they get to be a Kentucky basketball player again. You know, and that's bigger than anything, is you get to be a Kentucky basketball player again. The only sad part about it is they don't get to play in Rupp anymore, but they get to play where it all started in Memorial Coliseum, and we all have blood, sweat, and tears on that court in that building. So that's going to bring a little more camaraderie to the situation too. But this guy here, you know, just think about what he just said. You know, all the activities that's going on. No other TBT team is doing this. No other TBT organization, and you only can do it here in Kentucky. You know, Rock Oliver would always say, the things that's going on in his life, you can only get this done at Kentucky. And that's true. And this young man has embraced everything about the University of Kentucky and bringing things back and giving it back to the community, because the more support you have, the more success you have. And that's the advantage that we have being former Kentucky basketball players, because we bring, you know, this doesn't happen. You guys don't come see us at Wichita with their team. You don't see this with Ohio State with their team. You know, this is Kentucky, and this is what separates us. Not only while you're playing, but as you can see, when you're done, you're still somebody at the University of Kentucky, and that's what this is all about. And he's done such a great job of taking advantage of that, putting this together.
Twany, the more we hear about this, the more we realize how much of a commitment it is. And don't get me wrong, I believe you when you said the joy you get out of this and giving back and all that, but it's a heck of a lot of work. I mean, why do you do it?
I mean, it's a lot of work, man. A lot goes into this. You know, it's a full-time job, honestly. And for me this year, I think it's been the toughest. I have a 6-week-old baby, so I'm not getting any sleep at all. Yeah, so when guys, you know, just recruiting guys and putting together all of this stuff, it has to come from somewhere other than money. It has to come from the passion, just the love I have for this university, and then the brotherhood, La Familia, and then everybody around this organization that helps me. You know, Dad, Ms. Waukee, everybody just a part of this that helps out, man. I'm just so appreciative and thankful, because I could not do this alone. I couldn't do it alone.
Well, we appreciate it. I mean, it's an exciting thing to have during the course of the summer. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Everyone good? Awesome. Well, when's our first game, Twany? You want to tell everybody that?
Our first game is that Friday at 9 p.m. And of course, as you can see, if we win, we're gonna have an SEC. We could potentially have an SEC showdown with Auburn. Auburn was pretty good in the tournament last year. They're always strong, physical, and so that's another semi-rivalry that we could, you know, have in the second round. But of course, we both had to take care of business in our first round game. So definitely looking forward to that. And then at the bottom of the bracket, Ivy Line is a team that Archie played for last year. They were in the Final Four last year. So, you know, we don't have a cakewalk. It's going to be tough. It's going to be competitive. But as a staff and as a coaching staff, we're going to do our job and due diligence to make sure that these guys are in the best position and that they're well prepared going into each and every game.
And he hasn't mentioned, but last year we led all TBT in television ratings and actually shattered the record as far as TV ratings too. So what he put together in a short amount of time in a TBT situation to make it become must-see TV was miraculous, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to that again.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be in touch with additional details. I think all these guys are going to be available again that week, like we did a year ago, and so we're looking forward to having them back in around and getting them back in front of you all too.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.